following a small path on the edge of the rice fields. Step by step, blending with the wet soil left by last night's dew. The morning air greets us softly, cool, calming. On the left and right, green expanses stretch endlessly. The wind flows slowly, carrying the distinctive aroma of wet leaves and living soil. The sky is so bright this morning. The sunlight penetrates softly between the trees, gilding the scenery with a golden glow. The atmosphere is so beautiful, so natural, as if time slows down, inviting anyone who comes to take a moment, to be silent, and absorb it. This journey is not just about looking for snails. More than that, this is a small journey towards silence, towards tranquility, and at the end of the road, that simple hunting ground awaits. Quiet, calm, but full of life. I arrived at the place that had been calling silently since earlier. A simple place, but full of stories. A place that often becomes the destination of my steps every time I miss the silence and want to return to being part of nature. Here I am, standing on the edge of a rice field that is still wet, surrounded by the green of growing rice plants. The leaves are still young, still flexible, waving slowly when the wind passes by as if welcoming an old friend. This rice field is not just a field for farmers, but also a secret space for me, a place to hunt snails, not just to be cooked or taken home, but to enjoy the process, feeling every step that sinks in the mud, every splash of water that hits the face, and every second that flows slowly, makes me feel alive to the fullest. I stepped into the rice field plot, slowly, so as not to damage the neatly lined up rice stalks, as if they were also meditating in the silence of the morning. The water touches my ankles, cold but refreshing. The mud welcomes me warmly, and the small gurgling sound of the stream on the embankment becomes the perfect background music for this journey. I bend down, checking between the plants. My eyes comb the surface of the water, looking for small movements, traces of life hidden behind the sediment. The snails, tiny creatures that are silent, but persistent, who live in the mud, without complaint, without hurry. They are a symbol of fortitude, teaching me the meaning of simplicity and perseverance. Every now and then I stop for a moment, lift my face to the sky, take a deep breath. The sky is still bright, white clouds float quietly, and the morning sun shines on everything softly, as if blessing this day. In a place like this, time seems to stop. There is no roar of vehicles, no hustle and bustle of humans, only me, nature, and all the silence that greets me peacefully. And in the midst of it all, I felt home. One by one I began to find the snails, emerging slowly from behind the mud, silent, almost invisible, but always there for the patient eye to search for. My hand reached out, touching them gently, and as usual, they did not resist, just remained silent, accepting. They did not know that their presence, tiny and simple, I always awaited, always missed every time I returned to this place. Even though I had often hunted them, strangely, the snails were never completely gone. As if nature knew how much I loved the silence they guarded, how I came not just to take them home, but to feel the life that flows, slowly, like the calm water of a rice field. I kept walking through the rice fields, lifting 1, 2, 3 snails, while occasionally looking around, seeing how the sunlight began to dance on the surface of the water, making the shadows of the rice reflect faintly, like a living painting. There is a calmness that cannot be explained with words. It can only be felt. From within the chest that slowly warms, from the breath that begins to become regular, from the heart that suddenly becomes lighter, as if not carrying any burden. The little birds begin to be heard, as if singing a morning song that can only be heard by those who are truly present. The wind becomes softer, carrying the scent of fresh mud and wet leaves. The sky remains bright, and time continues to flow, but it doesn't feel rushed. I know, soon the sun will rise higher, and the day will begin to be busy with all its routines. But here, among the snails that are still hidden and the rice that continues to grow, I found something that cannot be bought. A peace that only comes when we are truly one with the earth. Today, like the previous days in this place, is a small meeting between humans and nature, between me and the silence. I don't know why. Today the snails I found seemed bigger than usual. Their bodies were sturdier, their shells thicker, and when I picked them up, they felt heavier in my hands. A few days ago, they weren't this big, but now, it was as if nature had given them enough time to grow, to strengthen, and to remain present for anyone who patiently searched for them. What surprised me, they were still so many. Even though I often hunted them, even though my footsteps had stirred the same mud many times, the snails kept appearing, as if this rice field never ran out of life. Maybe, this was nature's way of showing its generosity. That as long as we take enough, with respect, it will continue to give, without stopping. I bent down again, picked up another one, and then another, and every time I found a new snail, a small sense of gratitude grew in my heart, not because of the abundant results, but because I was still given the opportunity to experience all of this. In a fast-paced, busy world, the presence of these snails, who live slowly, quietly, and patiently, became a kind of quietly touching lesson, that life doesn't always need to be rushed. It doesn't always need to be big. As long as we grow, and give meaning. My steps continued, accompanied by the morning wind that began to bring the warmth of the sun. My hands were starting to fill up. My small bucket began to feel heavy. But my heart was light, spacious, calm. I continued to walk slowly, combing the surface of the water warmed by the morning sun. And the more snails I found, the more I realized how diverse these little creatures were. There were many types, and different colors adorned their shells. Some were dark brown, dull like wet soil. Others shone golden, as if carrying the morning light on their backs. Some were greenish, covered in fine moss. Others were spirally striped like nature's accidental carvings, but beautiful. Each snail had its own shape. Some were long ovals, some were wide rounds. Some were tiny, and some were large, as if they had been hiding for a long time, waiting to be discovered. I was stunned, not only by the number of them, but by the beauty that I had probably never really noticed. They made no sound, never asked to be seen, but they kept growing, kept living, kept being part of the harmony of this universe. As I put them one by one into my little bucket, I felt like I was collecting not just snails, but stories. Stories about how differences are not to be chosen, but to be celebrated, that in the same mud, live various shapes and colors, and all have their place. I sat for a moment on the edge of the embankment, looking at my catch today, not to count, but to admire, to really see, not just with the eyes, but with the heart. In this muddy little world, nature teaches us many things, about diversity, about patience, and about beauty that doesn't always scream, but is there, if we are willing to pay attention. I took a deep breath, letting the wind carry my gratitude to the morning air. The day is still long, but it feels like my heart is already full. Almost every day I hunt snails, early in the morning, when the world is still half awake. I have already walked, from one rice field to another, from the soft soil to the hardened one, from the murky water, until the one I am walking on today, the cleanest, the calmest, and most fertile rice field. As soon as I arrived here, I knew, this was no ordinary rice field. There was something different. There were more snails, easier to find. They seemed unafraid to come to the surface, as if they were comfortable living in a place as perfect as this. The water here was clear, to the point that even the muddy bottom was faintly visible from above. There were not many weeds, no trash, only rice fields planted neatly in rows as if arranged with love. The leaves were fresh green, standing upright, shining when hit by the morning sun that was starting to warm. The air around me felt cool, like a breath from the peaceful earth. A gentle breeze brushed my face and nape, bringing with it the soft and calming aroma of rice fields. Small birds sometimes passed overhead, singing songs without lyrics. The sound of crickets and insects from a distance accompanied my steps. There was no sound of engines, no hustle and bustle, only the sound of water dripping from between the roots, and the rustle of leaves touching gently. I felt like I was walking inside a living painting, a place where everything grows in its own time, and nature shows its best version. Snail after snail I found, and the deeper I went into this rice field, the more I realized, behind this simple activity, there is a happiness that cannot be measured by the number of catches. This is not just a snail hunt. It is a journey, a daily journey that is never the same, always giving small surprises, always teaching something new. And today, I feel like I have found a hidden treasure. Not because of the number, but because of the peace that cannot be bought. In this place, I do not only collect snails, I collect peace, I collect gratitude, and collect a small part of myself that is often lost in the busyness of the world. The snails I caught this morning are not just mere prey. They have a purpose, a role in the small chain of life that I guard every day. When I get home, I will feed these snails to my ducks. They, the ducks, are happiest when I bring them fresh snails like these. Not corn, not bran, but snails. They greet me cheerfully, fighting over them with enthusiasm when I throw them into the pen. There is a special joy in seeing them move nimbly, making cheerful sounds that only they understand. And I am happy too, because I know, what I brought from the rice fields this morning has become happiness for other creatures. This small cycle runs so naturally. I take from nature wisely, in return it is part of a wider life. Sometimes I think, how everything is interconnected. Mud, snails, ducks, me. All live side by side, giving to each other, filling each other, without having to talk much. That's why I keep doing it, every morning, without getting bored, because more than just feeding the ducks, I'm maintaining a rhythm, a simple rhythm of life, but whole and meaningful. And when dusk begins to fall, I will sit on the edge of the pen, watching my ducks rest full, and my heart will be calm too, because today, once again, I have managed to live my life slowly, with gratitude, and with a sense of sufficiency. It was still noon, the sun had not yet set to the west, and the sky remained flawlessly blue, but the bucket in my hand was already full. The snails I had caught today were more than enough. No need to wait for the afternoon, because nature had given it to me faster than usual. I stood on the edge of the embankment, looking back at my footprints left in the mud. There was a simple sense of satisfaction, not because of the abundant results, but because of the process, which was slow, silent, and so at one with nature. The afternoon wind began to feel warm, but there was still a coolness left from the morning dew. The rice leaves glistened in the sunlight, and the sound of water flowing slowly between the rice fields was still a soothing natural music. I turned around, preparing to go home. My steps felt light, even though my hands were carrying the burden of this small harvest. Because the burden carried with gratitude is never really heavy. Today, I brought more than just snails for my ducks. I brought home peace and contentment, and when I sit by the coop, watching them eat heartily, I know, this day has ended beautifully. No hustle and bustle, no noise, just me, nature, and the rhythm of life that keeps turning, slowly, surely. And tomorrow morning, I will return, because in this place, I do not just hunt, I return.